Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Satya. I live and work in Delhi and I love books. So, today I'm going to be reviewing Khushwant Singh's novel, which was published in 1990. It's called Delhi, a novel. I read a e-version, so that's why I'm showing you my iPad here. So, when you take the name of Khushwant Singh, his as a writer, his claim to fame is Train to Pakistan, his novel of partition, which was made into a movie also. The movie was made sometime in the 97, 98. Uh, so this book, Delhi, a novel, was published in 1990, which means that it is now 34 years since it was published. I read the book when it came out originally, and I read it again last week. So here are my thoughts on the book. Um, Before I get into the book, I will talk about Khushwant Singh a little more. So he was born in 1915 in present day Pakistan, studied in Lahore and then studied in London, did his law, and then he came back to India. He set up his law practice in Lahore. India was not partitioned by that time, so it was one country. He had no interest in law, so he became a part of social elite of Lahore. Khushwant Singh's father, those who may not know this, was Sir Shobha Singh. He had built the city of New Delhi. He was one of the contractors hired by the Britishers. And next to Khan Market is Sujan Singh Park, which was in Delhi's first apartment settlement. And all the members of his family, even today, live there. So coming back to the book and the writer, uh, later on in his career, once India got partitioned, Khushwant Singh worked with Indian Embassy in London, and gradually he found his love for literature and writing, and he took up editorship of a government publication called Yojana in the 50s. In the 60s, he was taken on as editor of Illustrated Weekly of India, one of probably the most popular news magazine of that time. Till 1978, which is about 11 years, he was based in Bombay, editing the magazine. He took the magazine to great heights. His combination of certain topics which he thinks worked well for Indian readers. So he had a mix of uh, religion, history, sex. He would get writers to write about Indian past in a very accessible language. Khushwant Singh's writing style is very accessible, and he always claimed, he used to say that he cannot even call himself a writer because there are people like Salman Rushdie, Amitabh Ghosh, Vikram Seth. He looked up to these writers and said that my writing is nothing compared to them. But yes, he was very successful as a journalist and as a writer. He used to contribute a column to Hindustan Times in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. It was called With Malice Towards One and All. Uh, he had a love for gossip, sex, and he hated hypocrisy. So he was always taking on people, puncturing their ego, exposing their hypocrisy, and he made many enemies, and he was not scared of that. Uh, so coming to this book, if you have read his columns and if you have read his other writings, you would know, you would immediately understand this book. You'll get it. So he has used a technique. He wants to present Delhi of last 1000 years. So before I get into the book, let me just do a recap of the history of Delhi. The city of Delhi, as we know it, was founded sometime around 1200 years back in 800 AD by a Rajput king, Anang Pal Tomar. And for the first 400 years, it was essentially Rajput kings who were ruling the area around present day Surajkund. and present day Mehroli. It was called Lal Kot at that time. And then the invasions of Muslims took place, and then we had rules of different Muslim dynasties, starting with around 1200 up to 1857, and then formally the Britishers took over. So, to tell the story of Delhi, Khushwant Singh uses a technique. So, the book starts in the present day Delhi. So, he wrote it in the 70s and early 80s. So, the writer, it's in first person. So, you can clearly see that this writer is Khushwant Singh himself. So, it's a Sikh gentleman who is around 55 years of age. He lives in an area which is Sujan Singh Park. He lives alone, and he has all the habits and lifestyle that Khushwant Singh was known for. So the book starts with present day Delhi, and there is a character of Bhagmati, a eunuch, a transvestite, who regularly meets with a writer and fornicates, as he calls it, love making, they have sex. And so, in a way, um Khushwant Singh says that my city, and I love my city, Delhi. My Delhi is like Bhagmati. It is sterile, but it's very exciting, but not at all productive. So, so the book, the technique that is used is that there is a present day writer talking about his life, his relationships, about Delhi of that time, and then intercutting with passages from the past. So the first cut that happens is around the time of 1200 AD, when Khalji dynasty and Tughlaqs after that were ruling Delhi, and there was uh, Nizamuddin Aulia in the present day Nizamuddin area where he was residing, and he had a huge fan following. And there are lots of characters around of that time, which is Amir Khusro and all the rulers from Muhammad bin Tughlaq, Alauddin Khalji. And in that first passage, he brings out the day to day life of a common man during that period, and it's a longish passage, and then it ends. There's a character who is telling his story, and he's a common man, a kayasth, who lived in those times. So it beautifully brings out what life was like under the rule of Khaljis and Tughlaqs. Then we come to the present, and his own relationships, his interaction with the embassies, his friend circle, the kind of talk they have. Again, then cut back to the second passage, which is the invasion of Mongols that happened in 1398. And again, it brings out the life of that those times. And likewise, it keeps on cutting back to the present and then going back. I personally like the book. It's very readable, it's very accessible, it's not too thick. And if somebody wants to know a little bit of history of Delhi in a nice, engaging manner, so this is a good book to read. One thing which you might find interesting, considering the times we are in, which is 2024, elections are around the corner, and politics is very polarized. So, in this book, because there are passages about Nadir Shah's invasion of Delhi, the Mughal rule, Aurangzeb's rule. In fact, one of the longest passages about Aurangzeb's rule. Uh, this discussion happened at that time also, that how can Hindus be friendly towards Muslim because of the history they have. So interestingly, Khushwant Singh uh, is kind of very dismissive. He says that look, that was history. Those were savage times. Everybody was behaving in a savage manner. So it's, you can't just pick on Muslims for behaving the way they did. Even Hindus and Marathas and Rajputs, everybody was savage and wild in those times. And he has an appreciation of a lot of aspects of those times, the Urdu poetry, the literary aspect of those times. and he seems quite cool about it. So that's how India was in the 70s and 80s. You were not really too concerned about the past. You have a life to live, and whatever happened in the past happened. It was not something that was making you feel like a small person because, oh, Muslims did this to us. Now we must get back at them. So that thing was not there in the 70s and 80s. And in fact, I think Khushwant Singh would have been really upset to see what happened in our country. I'm glad that he died at the time he died. He died at the age of 98 in 2013. And there is a literary festival that is held every year. It's called KS Lit Fest. Happens in Kasauli in the second week of October. Kasauli being his second home, and it is curated by Rahul, his son Rahul Singh, and Nilofer Bilumoria, his partner. And it's a wonderful, wonderful lit fest. I would strongly recommend that if you love books and if you are in North India, please go and attend it once. It's quite an experience, and it's very different from all other literary festivals. So coming back to the book, how does it hold up? Has How has it aged in 34 years? To tell you the truth, I found it more enjoyable now than I did it in 1990. Maybe because I was very young at that time, uh, and it's very accessible. Like I said, very readable. It does not shy away from confronting certain questions about Muslims in India, and it is something which most people who want to know a bit about India can gain from it, because it assumes that the reader does not know too much about Indian society or history. So that way it is good. Uh, I would recommend it. I don't believe in giving stars or anything. I enjoyed it, and books are meant to be enjoyed. And I learned a great deal. In fact, one of the things that I came away after reading this book was my appreciation of Mir Taki Mir. So there is this longish passage in the book where Mir Taki Mir narrates his own life story. So Mir Taki Mir was born in 1721 in Agra, and he lived to a ripe age of 88. He lived up to 1808, and large part of his life he lived in Delhi. So you come away understanding Mir Taki Mir really well. So next time when you read his poetry, you would know that this poetry is coming from his own life. And it's a very interesting life, and it's narrated beautifully. So, in fact, if you ask me, the passages about Mir Taki Mir and Aurangzeb, longish passages, they are worth it. They make the book worthwhile. There's a lot more to the book, but these two passages are what I call banger. Like, they just hit it out of the park. I enjoyed it. So yeah, that was my review. I can talk more about Khushwant Singh. I think I have noticed that till about 2005, 2010, Khushwant Singh was part of literary life of India and Delhi. He was writing and he was well known. But in the last 10 years, I have seen that he's fallen off the consciousness of people. I don't see very much mention of him, uh, what he stood for. So I find it intriguing that India has kind of forgotten a lot of things. And Khushwant Singh stood for the secular fabric of and secular culture of India. He was one of those guys who actually just loved every aspect of the secular culture of India. Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs. He himself was a Sikh, not a very religious person, but he enjoyed going to Gurdwara, listening to Japji. Uh, so yes, I mean, read the book, figure out for yourself, do you like it or not? I enjoyed it, and I had to do this one take because I don't have a video editor. So that's my review of Delhi. Yeah, and I promise I'll upload every second day. I'll upload a video. Thank you for dropping by, and take care, and happy reading. All right, bye.